Welcome to Duchenne Connections, the podcast where lived experience meets real conversation. Hosted by Michelle Pomeroy and Donna Anderton, we explore the Duchenne journey through honest stories, shared experiences, and the connections that bring our community together. Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we record this podcast. Duchenne Connections is recorded across Kaurna country in South Australia and Wurundjeri country in Victoria. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening today.
Here we are again.
Welcome back.
Welcome to our next episode of Duchenne Connections podcast. This is where lived experience meets real life conversations. I'm Michelle Pomeroy.
I'm Donna Anderton.
And here we are again, Donna, ready to present our next podcast.
Yes. It's been a while. I've missed you.
Yes, no. I look forward to us being able to catch up for our cup of teas.
Yes.
Left yours behind, did you?
Yep, I just clicked. Oh well, I will have it after as a reward.
Good idea. Good idea. Oh, so last episode we had a good chat about conferences and meeting and allied health teams and some of the things we see our kids doing and struggling with. So these episodes, I guess we're gonna look at still sticking in that 2 to 5.
2 to 5, yep.
And on our DMD journey. But we're going to kind of talk about some fun stuff today. Talk about how we socialised our kids and how we created opportunity for them to get out there and be a part of things.
Because that's the next step, isn't it? Like once you get this, devastating news for us, it's then, right, gung-ho, we're going to do the best we can for these kiddies, and what are we going to do?
Yeah, like in episode 1, we're now in Holland.
Yeah.
And we're going to smell those tulips.
That's right.
And we're going to enjoy the new us, the new journey, the new kid. Well, not the new kids, but a different journey.
The new journey.
Yeah. So I guess then it's kind of making the most of those younger years. We kind of talked about the younger years being the easier years. And I guess it'd be nice to share how we enjoy those younger years.
Because it's interesting. Yeah, you got to navigate that in a way. I think I mentioned earlier, for us, we didn't go to the park a lot. But then it was, okay, so we don't go to the park. What are we going to do instead? So I made sure in my situation for Coop, our house was open. Friends came over all the time. We lived in a hilly area, so it wasn't always easy to access other people's houses. The first thing you discover in our world is that stairs are not your friend.
No.
So you avoid places with lots of stairs.
You do. I just had this little moment pop into my head where we had been to the conference and we won scoot carts for the kids. And I think we took one each.
Yes.
Or did we take 2 each? I don't know. But
no, one each. I think you won them both and you said, I can't take 2 home. Here's one for Cooper.
And I can remember you sending me a video. You just said you lived in this hilly area.
Yeah.
And I can remember sending a video clip of Cooper sat on this green scoot car going down this hill at a gazillion miles per hour. And I can just, I look back now and think, oh my goodness, what if he'd come off? But it was hilarious that he was just having this ball.
I'm going to find that footage. I've set myself homework. I'm going to find that footage and send it so we can add it to this because it's hilarious. And so where I live, the road has a slight dip in it, and at the bottom of the dip is our driveway. It's not massive, but it's enough to create fear in the mother.
Looks a bit scary.
He used the self-propelled bike that you gave him and would go down and come up the other side. And for him, that was fast movement, air through his hair. He loved it. That actually progressed to his brother on a bike next to him, to Cooper's manual wheelchair, to motorised wheelchair with his best mate, competing up and down the road. So it's quite a fun hill.
Adrenaline junkie.
Adrenaline junkie, yes. So, yeah, that was quite fun.
And it's hard, it's hard to kind of let your kids go a little bit in their own way, doing stuff like that. Because, yes, it is scary. And in your back of your head, you go, what if he falls? What if he breaks a leg? What if he, but realistically, they just benefit from those experiences of just a bit of adrenaline kicking in and, going down
just
that
being
hill.
boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
God.
quite tricky creating social moments, whereas for other neurotypical kids or having siblings, it's much easier to create those opportunities, I think, for those kids, whereas for play and socializations for kids with DMD is quite tricky. So
Yeah.
we always struggled, and we'd moved from Port Lincoln over here, and we were in a big shopping mall one day, and I saw this lady sat with her son, and he was in a wheelchair. He was in a green manual wheelchair, and I looked over and I was like, oh, and she was looking at me and I was looking at her, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go over and say good day, So I was like, oh, hey, come on, Jack, let's say hi. His head would go down as they do. And I got talking to this lady, Catherine, and her son, Isaac. And she said, oh, Isaac's got muscular dystrophy. And I was like, oh, so does Jack, clearly different types of muscular dystrophy. And she became a real kind of socializing point for me and for Jack. I think Jack used to drive Isaac insane, Isaac would just be looking at Jack all the time like, oh, God, so annoying, a bit younger. But in some respects, that was their socialization. Isaac also liked the fact that Jack would come over and they would sit and play video games, or Jack would climb around the couch while he was playing on a game. And so for us, Isaac and Catherine became a bit of a fixture, because socializing with Jack was really hard. He just didn't know how to socialize. He would do a lot of attention-seeking behaviors, and I would always be fearful that he was going to break something, or, we had baseball bats through people's TVs. It's really hard to socialize and hold friendships when stuff like that go down. So
yeah,
we did create opportunity for Jack, but it was definitely always a work in progress. It was
did you do many holidays?
Yes, holidays. Well, we had family in England, so we travelled a couple of times back to the UK. Once when Jack was about, I think it was probably around 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, was he a little bit older than that? I can't remember. I don't think he'd been diagnosed. And then later, when he'd just started walking at 2.5.
Yeah.
And then again, a little bit older. He might have been older than 5, but we travelled back to the UK a couple of times, which that was tricky. Like, that was the navigation of organisation of,
Well, getting the equipment to start with. I mean, that's when you start needing, even just push manual wheelchairs to assist.
Manual wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I can remember as well, Jack had like a Pediasure drink when he was little, because he was so scrawny. He never put on any weight. He was this kind of little skinny kid with this big head. And these drinks They had to be under 190 mils or whatever when like when you travel
Mm.
overseas,
Ah, yes.
smaller, and they made me tip a load away. Like I wasn't allowed to take them on the airplane. I was like, how am I gonna feed my
Feed
child?
my child.
But we made it work. I think that we got some powder Pediasure on the other end. We worked out that we could get some when we got to England. But we also went up to Queensland. We did a few different trips with Jack, but with the right kind of organisation, we made it work. But
Yeah.
how about you? Because I mean, you didn't just have Coops; you had the other kids as well that you had
Yep.
to organise.
You had to organise everything around all three, and it just, I suppose it's nothing to be scared of. Like, it's not something that you look at and go, oh my God. It gets harder as they get older. But when they're in that young age, like the 2 to 5, even a little bit older, that's where you can have fun, and you're not having lots of equipment. It's either the stroller until they get too big and they don't want the stroller anymore. And then that's always fun because they don't want equipment all the time, and they don't want to, they want to look the same as their brother or their sister. So that really plays a part where you just have to sort of
Jack
make it
hated
work.
the stroller, but
Yeah.
he was quite happy to then accept that manual wheelchair.
Mm,
But for him, looking back, I just don't think for him he didn't want to feel like a baby.
yeah, absolutely.
That was the kind of vibe that he gave off to me. But he was okay with a small manual wheelchair, and they had that at kindy as well. I was thinking though about what you were saying then, and definitely for us, we had the opportunity to do a Make-A-Wish for Jack.
Mm,
I'd imagine
we
it would
did
have
that
been
for Coop. Yep.
It would have been like we chose a holiday, which would have been like your Queensland holiday that got
Yeah.
given to you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do his Make-A-Wish while he was on his feet. That was a big thing for me.
Me
And
too.
I that was so lovely because it was just all planned out. This beautiful hotel and the different parks that you could go to,
Yeah.
and even whilst on that holiday, we were having to make adjustments. Like we got into Waterworld and we worked out that we couldn't go on the slides with Jack. And
Yeah.
if he fell back, he couldn't sit back up again.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. We went back into the other part where SeaWorld that he really loved. So even in those moments where it feels a bit disappointing that it's perhaps not going how you thought it would, we just kind of created another opportunity and said, oh, well, if this doesn't work, let's all just go back into SeaWorld. And the parks were amazing. They're like, yeah, we'll give you these tickets.
Yeah.
Go back into SeaWorld and enjoy that. So that...
See, for Coops, found it a little bit more challenging because Mitchell wanted to do the kids' climbing wall. They harness the kids up and they get to climb up the wall and use the rock climbing and have an adult there helping, to support. And Coops was adamant, I want to do it. And I'm just like, you knew that he wasn't going to be able to do it, but you let him try anyway. So it's put the harness on. He's turned around, smiled, thumbs up, take a photo. And lucky I did the photo at the beginning because he couldn't make it up the wall. And then he's cracking it and he was just so frustrated. But even though that situation occurred, he learnt from that. And he learnt that he wanted to try it and we didn't stop him trying it. But again, in the future, he didn't opt to do that again. Yeah. But it was providing something else for him.
And it goes back to that. You can't tell these boys. They have to work it out for themselves to a certain extent. And we did the same when we couldn't go on those... we couldn't do the whole water thing, and I said to Jack, what do you want to do? Is there something else you want to do? And, terrible. They're never any good at decision making. But I knew Jack had wanted to go in a helicopter. So we were like, okay, so that hasn't worked out. Let's have a go on this helicopter. I can remember, we've got footage of this as well. Jack was so impulsive that all I could think about is that if he pulls that handle on the door, he's out of here, and in a helicopter. And he put the headphones on, and they put me in first and Jack next to the door. I was like, oh, well, how's this going to go?
Why wouldn't you put him in the middle?
Well, I think I was just trying to go with the flow. Like, I've got this. But, Jack put those headphones on and the pilot started to chat to him. And a little switch just went. Like you could just see, and, our kids are not the talkative kids. Their expressive language is poor. But he's got these little headphones on and I can hear him saying, yes, yes, and the pilot's chatting to him. And there was this sense of calm. And I'm like, this kid's doing something. Here's a little moment. Here's a little memory moment. Like he's enjoying this. He can do it. And, he probably enjoyed that more than meeting the dolphins that seemed to scare the bejeebies out of him. But, I think, again, it was creating that opportunity to say, well, you've had a go at this. It doesn't work. It's okay that it doesn't work. Let's find something that you do want to do. We also know with these kids that if it's not of high interest, you've got no chance, of getting them to have a go. And so sometimes you got to let them go and, let them figure it out for yourselves, don't you? So that was Jack's Make-A-Wish. We really enjoyed that. And what did Coops do for his Make-A-Wish?
He wanted to do something with Lego, which was great. He was a pretty shy kid, so they spoke to him about what did you want to do. He said Lego. I said you have the option of meeting the Lego master. I can't remember his name, but the one that's on the TV with Hamish. And he goes, no, he could have gone to his house and seen his whole setup, but he goes, no. And they just took him to a little Lego place in Fairfield and they organised a limo for him and he got to choose his two mates, Paddy and Connor, and they got to sit in the limo with him and Mum and Dad and Reese and Mitchell, of course, and they had a big party for him the week before where they gave him loads of Lego boxes, like the expensive Lego.
He got a train, didn't he?
He got a train, like a Lego Technic train that went on a track, and it was just amazing. They filled it's still all over his room, even though he's 18. I'm like, do you want to put your Lego away? He goes, no, it's all right. Okay, cool. He loves it. And although when he got older, he's like, why'd you make me have it so young? Like, I could have gone somewhere when I'm older. And I'm like, well, it's just what I did. I think it was a little bit like you. I just wanted him to be able to enjoy it all, be on his feet.
Logistics of travelling as they get older becomes more complex. And again, I think this is something we'll talk about in other podcasts. But, travel does become hard. So it's kind of like, well, you've got to find those interests. And at that time, that was Coop's interest.
Yeah.
And we're pretty lucky. Like here in South Australia, we've got the Variety. So they do the Variety Christmas parties. And
here too.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So, I feel like the community-based stuff opportunity is out there. And of course, Coops, being a Port Power supporter, I'm going to find this really hard to bring up, but we can share a few stories around
it
this.
Up. It's fine.
But Cooper got to also meet and go spend some time with his beloved Collingwood and all of your beloved Collingwood.
That's right. It's a family thing. It's not just Cooper.
Yeah.
And so a couple of times actually we got to I think the first time Matt was given tickets shortly after Coops was diagnosed. He was given tickets from a workmate that had connections to the Collingwood Football Club, which enabled him and the boys to actually go into the rooms after the game So that was pretty cool. That was the first time. And there's a photo of Coops and Daisy Thomas back then when he was a rookie. And then after that, there was another one where the Collingwood Football Club wanted us to go and go to the club, meet the team, which was great. And the Collingwood Football Club have their own internal TV show that they run on the internet. So they wanted to make a story out of it. And then the project got wind of it at the time. So then the project ended up doing a whole story on Cooper and Mitchell, of course, with his diagnosis, as we explained earlier. So they both went, and then Reese got to go. They all got jumpers. We all got to spend the day. We even sat down and had lunch with the players. Cooper was offered lunch. Matt laughs about this. Cooper was offered lunch, and there were lasagnas and pastas and all you could think of, this beautiful food. And he looks at Travis Cloak and said, "I just want a Vegemite sandwich." So, of course, Travis goes, "Okay," goes over, gets the Helga's bread, makes him his own personalised Vegemite sandwich so he could eat with the team. It was so good. They've been so inclusive. We love the Collingwood Football Club.
Well, I love this little moment because they were interviewing Cooper, and at the time, Port Power had gone gun-ho in the first part of the season and was, I think, sort of unbeatable at that point. And the Collingwood team were all there, and the interviewer says to Cooper, "So, Cooper, who do you think's going to win the season?
The grand final.
The grand final." And he said, "I think it might be Port Power." And I just remember thinking, good on your Coops. And everyone had a little moment of, what?
But wouldn't you say Collingwood? No, Port Power. He's very serious about his footy, even now,
Yeah.
Well, he's been very lucky.
And now, he's got his job at AFL House, so that's pretty special as a grown-up. Yeah. And I also just feel like, I was just about to say, no filter with these kids either.
No.
There's no lying. They'll just tell you straight. This is what it is. Yep. Port Power are on the winning list right now,
That's it.
Even though
he's serious about his footy. Yeah, he's serious about his footy.
Yeah, loves his stats. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, we've got lots of charitable things, happening.
Coops was in Victoria, Very Special Kids. I don't know if it's, I think it's just in Victoria.
No, we don't have that here. It's a Victorian
so thing. We have a house that looks after those children with chronic conditions or life-threatening childhood conditions, and they enabled us to go and participate, a bit like the Variety Club. They'd run a Christmas function for everybody. They would run events during the year. They had a program where a volunteer, so they were trained volunteers on working with these families, would come and actually friend the whole family and be connected. So we were lucky enough to have a beautiful lady called Sarah. And Sarah would come out and hang out with the kids on the weekends. Every couple of weekends she'd come and might take them all to the movies, or she'd take them for a milkshake, or and it was a way of giving mum and dad a bit of a break, but also the kids to participate in something outside of the home. So when, as a lot of you would realise, we do mother our children and we're there for everything, and sometimes they just want a break from mum and dad as well. They just want to be a normal kid.
Even when they say they don't want a break from you, "Mum, where you going? How long are you going to be?"
Yeah, exactly.
They actually do. Like, their behaviour tells us something other than wanting to actually stick with us.
Absolutely.
They verbalise it, but it's not actually what they want.
No. So that was a really, really beneficial thing for also Mitchell and Reese to be able to have a connection with an adult that wasn't mum and dad, that wasn't connected to the family. And it gave them an opportunity just to talk. And, I don't know if they still run that program as such anymore. But I do know that was something that was very beneficial. But also the Starlight Foundation was sort of pivotal every time you went to the Children's Hospital. To keep young children entertained in a hospital setting is quite challenging. Melbourne is the exception with the beautiful fish tank and the meerkats, of course, that they get to go and visit. But we are an exception to the rule. But also the Starlight Foundation just offered like a home away from home where they could play computer games or do some art and craft.
And you also have a beanbag cinema, which
the beanbag cinema, yes,
is pretty epic too. So when we used to travel to Melbourne, it would be like if we were over there on one of the drug trials, it would be like, right, meerkats while we're waiting, and then a movie. You know, we'd try and fill in our time because we'd have to come and go from the hospital a little bit. So we do have the Starlight room here, and sometimes kids get a Make-A-Wish or they get a Starlight wish. It just depends here.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, we talked about that financial strain being one thing. You know, holidays are a cost, you know, if it's not under Make-A-Wish or Starlight, or a house that's funded by special kids. Or so, you know, I feel like it doesn't have to cost a lot, and sometimes it's taking those opportunities and running with them. You know, if an opportunity, if it's your Make-A-Wish, you know, take those opportunities with your kids, you know, and run with them, because, you know, they're not, I've never had any of those charitable people make me feel like a charitable case.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they were there for support. They're so good at what they do.
Yeah. And the navigation, you know, I think about navigating holidays and trips away. When we went to England, we just had Jack. But I you know, we know families that have more than one boy with DMD within them too.
Yeah.
You know, and the navigation for those families traveling and doing stuff is crazy. Like I couldn't imagine having to try and manage a holiday with two boys with DMD. In the earlier years, maybe, but certainly as they get older, that would be very, very difficult. Tricky. So another timely reminder to make use of those younger years while you, you know, while you can.
What's really good though is accessing the companion card through the companion card scheme. I don't know if is it a government scheme?
It is a government scheme, yes.
Yeah. And that really has made, I must admit, that is one really beneficial thing, because with the companion card, you get a free second ticket for the carer or the companion that assists, even when they're a child. So going to that holiday in Queensland and the theme parks, I know we went again in the future with some family friends from school, and it just makes it a little bit more affordable. That one of the adult tickets, I didn't need to consider the cost of, say, Dad's ticket, because he was going to be considered the carer, and it just makes things a bit easier.
Technically, I don't think they're meant to be used as a cheaper ticket, but it's beneficial. But I also think that realistically, you wouldn't be able to do those holidays without two parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're going to the footy, it's two of you that go along, whereas it may have only been one of you going along. So I guess the use of that card is also the fact that it's more encouraging to have that second person with you to give you that support and help. Because it's always a worry. For me, it was a worry that Jack would take off and you know, end up somewhere else. There had to be eyes on him all the time. So having that companion card and having that second person that could have those eyes on him, whether it was his dad or another family member, it just, you know, it made things much easier.
But it also makes things possible to have those experiences collectively together. Whereas I know it's not meant to be for that reason, but it does provide that support. So that as a family we could go together and enjoy things that one of us would have to stay home for.
Talking about keeping an eyes on on children. And actually, I'm thinking about how we socialise, because there was very little room for me to socialise without Jack. Jack would always be there.
Yeah.
If you had a catch up, Jack would always be a part of that catch up.
Yeah.
And what I found was that if my direct attention wasn't on him at all times, socialising became really difficult, because I'd be in a half of a conversation but watching him at the same time.
Yeah.
I can remember one time we were in the pub having a lunch with some work friends. I'd been working as an SSO at a school at that time while I was studying. And Jack jumped up off of his chair and went really quickly out this door. Like I jumped up from my chair to chase after him. But he had gone out 2 doors, quite heavy doors. I'm not quite sure how he did it. And then ran out into the road straight in front of a 4-wheel drive.
Oh, wow.
And that 4-wheel drive stopped. So this was a kid, as I mentioned before, was a hand grenade, but what I found was, as a parent, is that I found my own socialization very difficult if
Limiting.
I didn't have a secondary person to help. If
Yeah.
I was going to go and do something, I had to have that other person around, because he had to have eyes on him all the time, and he
Yeah.
had to have attention on him all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's acknowledging that there's a whole group of kids that are like Jack,
Yeah.
where the behaviours really hinder the socialisation for both you and them, and that it becomes about the behaviour and their kind of impulsiveness. And that's really hard with socialisation. So when you create opportunity, you've got to consider all that stuff. Where are we going? Who's going to be there?
Which was why Mary and I decided to have connection I think we tried every school holidays for a while there. Just creating an opportunity for families to come together. And we were lucky enough that we were able to acquire a bit of funding through Save Our Sons at the time, to purchase the sausages and cans of soft drink and loaves of bread. And the benefit was Matt, was working in secondary schools, and he was able to get permission from the school if we could host it there. It was school holidays, no one was there, and it enabled an area that was big enough and dry, like we had areas for us all to congregate in case it rained, but we could provide a barbecue and bring everyone together. And there were lots of eyes watching lots of kids, and it enabled a little bit of
it's a
the
safe
younger
space.
ones. Yeah, and it was the younger kids could see the older kids that were in wheelchairs, but it created a normality for them. And I do remember once being asked by some of the staff at the Children's Hospital, they were just pondering and said, do you think we should separate clinic days into possibly having the younger kids on one day and then having older kids on the other day, just to make it easier for them? And I said, actually, no, I don't think that's going to be helpful. And they said, oh, why? And I said, because it actually creates a wondering for the little kids to see the bigger kids and to see them laugh, chat, be normal. It creates acceptance and normality, and it's no longer something to be fearful of.
Yeah, I think.
And so they never ended up changing it. They left it as it was.
Good. And when you think about our kids, anticipation's really hard. Like sitting with anticipation, regardless of where the kids are at. Anticipation is really hard for them. And so sometimes, although they're refusing or pushing back off things, sometimes that anticipation, you kind of got to push them up and over the hill a little bit. And if it's done organically, if it's done naturally in those environments where they're just exposed, and things are just talked about around them, I think it makes life it brings that normalization. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
as we've spoke about in previous podcasts, you know, for us, we met that older family very early on, and that was really beneficial for us. And I just want to recap. So when you talk about clinic day, you're talking about clinic day at the hospital, and that's
Yeah.
where you have a very different system there to what we have in South Australia. So
Yeah.
you're kind of hospital based. The kids go along, and you'll see multiple people on multiple day, like multiple people within
Yeah.
one day, or
Yes.
potentially a second day if necessary. Whereas
Yeah.
here in South Australia, we just go, you know,
For
whenever,
each
one
appointment.
appointment, wherever.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, and you're waiting in an area where you've got meerkats, you know, and the kids can kind of hang out, and mums can talk, and the kids can,
Yeah.
you know, sit closely with their head stuck down, not pretending not to pay any attention, but listening to every single thing that's being said. So no, I agree with you. I think that organic kind of exposure.
Experience. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
nothing to be fearful of. It's, you know, and it enabled, I think, also for us mums to see that, oh, it's not as scary as you might have in your head, you know.
There's been a lot of conversation, Donna, again online that we've noticed around you know, talking to your kids. And this is something that you and I got kind of involved in within those conferences that we talked about in the last episode. And, you know, we get a lot of questions around exposure to others, but also how to talk to kids. And, you know, I think we've both always done this from my perspective. You know, it's always kind of about talking about what's happening in those moments. And again, not talking too far ahead.
Yeah.
You need to sit down and have this big conversation with this little person. It's organic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it flows. But one of the things you really did and you really promoted was that going out to schools and talking with the kids and answering their questions.
And demystifying anything they might have. And it was to classmates. And I'm sure this will be for future episodes, but some of the questions were hilarious and so thought-provoking, and just demystifying it for them just brings so much clarity for the kids and acceptance for the child that has Duchenne, that the struggle at school or with peers or with friends just reduces. And it's such, I can't tell you how pivotal it is. It's just so good to see the reaction to these kids, and no, you can't catch it. It's really cool. And when I was going out to the schools, I would always speak to the parents that had asked me to go out first, and I would be mindful of things like, what common language, what common descriptors do you use at home? Does the child actually want to be acknowledged when I get to the school? And if they didn't want the classmates to know specifically that it was them I was talking about, I always referred then to Cooper being, you know, the superhero with the weak muscles. And I was always mindful to respect the wishes of the family and to make sure I wasn't putting a target on any student that didn't want to be identified. And sometimes I would find, though, at the end of the presentation, sometimes the child said, I'm the one that's just like your Cooper. Like, they wanted to be identified. And that was beautiful.
I think what you do is you go in, you're simplifying the language. It's an educational approach,
Absolutely.
not a pitiful approach. And I think we need to be careful that, you know, our little people aren't victims.
No.
You know, and I think by doing what you do, you know, you took an educational approach to that. And
Absolutely.
it's little conversations organically that kind of evolve bigger. Now, we're going to come back to this because we're going to do like a whole season on kind of lots of stuff around schooling and those school years. That's going to be in our next season. But I do think the importance of conversations, and we've got a bit of a kind of a theory and a method over here around things that we do. And for me, when you create opportunity, you learn about what's purposeful and what's of interest to your kids. You create those wow moments. And while the kids have a wow moment and some purpose, some success in what they're doing, we see them light up. We know those moments, and they're the moments that have to be given opportunity in those younger years, because so often the other kids get those opportunity much more frequently. So, make the most of those younger years. This is our light. This is our light bulb moment.
Absolutely.
I think. Create opportunity. Let your kids have a go. They'll tell you if. Sometimes they'll come to that realization that, okay, I can't do this. Our friend Mary, she never stopped Lucas from doing anything. Me and you would be like, oh, maybe if we expose them, they might get a little bit upset about that. No, Mary would be like, nope, no, Lucas is going in there. He's going to have a go. And I always respected Mary for that. And I can't wait to talk to Mary at some point on our podcast.
Now he's travelling the country, playing sport, loving it.
Tattoos.
He's absolutely travelling the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, light bulb moment. In those younger years, try and create as much opportunity. Look out for their purpose. Look out for their interests. And when there's that memory that's created, remember it. Talk about it. Bring the kids back to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a lovely episode. We've shared lots of stories.
Yeah. Now, the next ones are going to be good. We'll get into those.
Yeah, more.
Do you remember what we're talking about?
We do. We're getting a little bit into kind of medical genetics, manifesting carriers. We're going to do this over 2 episodes because there's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot there,
And, so today, thanks everyone for joining us. I would like to say that obviously we've done a few podcasts now, and we'd really appreciate it if you could continue to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. But also, if you are enjoying our podcasts, please like them and share them.
Yep.
The more people that we can, entice to listen to us in the DMD community, not just family members, but other professionals, extended family, friends, please share if you feel that it would be of some benefit, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and you'll find us on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple. So this is Duchenne Connections podcast, where lived experience meets real life conversation. I'm Michelle Pomeroy.
I'm Donna Anderton, and you love the word podcast.
Signing off.
Bye. If today's conversation brought up thoughts, ideas, or concerns, we want to acknowledge that while these discussions are informed by lived experience and professional knowledge, every Duchenne journey is different. The things we talk about may not be right for everyone, so we always encourage families to speak with their own support teams, including medical personnel and allied health professionals, about their individual circumstances.